want waffle fries.
Jason, waffle fries aren't good for you. You should know better. Also, hello. What on earth just happened in there? Mr. Naruhodo, I've managed to find out what happened. See, you can have an objection. See, you get something. Miss Susato. I was told it was an advanced form of smoke grenade, a type of exploding device that releases smoke. A smoke grenade? It sounds like some sort of thing ninjas use. They're just making sure everything is safe now. I think the trial will start again before long. But who would have done something like that? For those who were not here prior, if you wanted just a quick little summation, this fellow died. There were two people on top of this stagecoach who looked through a sunroof to see the murder. There's two people sitting here, but the theory is there's someone back here where they couldn't see. And the driver, who, as we go on, is just grifting people out of fucking money. So, you know, not too excited. The police managed to catch someone who was trying to flee the courtroom, apparently. Flee the courtroom? Why? Well, it's a young girl of around 15, I hear. A young girl? Then could it be the other passenger that Mr. McGilded was just talking about? My thoughts exactly. So he wasn't lying. Oh, what's become of Mr. McGilded, actually? There are so many things I need to ask about him, and he's not here. I think he was summoned to the prosecutor's antechamber to answer questions, along with a young girl. Who is she, I wonder? And what was she even doing at the trial? She was taking a huge risk, and for what possible benefit to herself? There's another matter that's troubling me. What's that? The 20 pence. Oh, according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 4 passengers that night at a fare of 5 pence each. That comes to a total of 20 pence exactly. But now it seems there are in fact 5 passengers. Which means the figures don't seem to add up again. She's right. That is strange.
Counsel for the defense, kindly proceed to the courtroom. The trial will commence in 5 minutes.
Oh, thank you, officer. We'll go in straight away. Well, whoever she is, I imagine this young girl will be asked to take the stand and testify now. I really can't imagine what she's going to say, but it could alter the whole direction of the trial. We'll know soon enough, Mrs. Sato. Yes. I hope, he won't, but I still hope Herlock Sholmes will show up. Just, fuck, he is such a good character. There's the young girl next to Mr. McGilded. Look. She must have been the one who caused the disturbance earlier.
Well, after that rather eventful recess, the court will now resume the trial of Mr. Magnus McGilded. Now then, Lord Van Zykes.
My lord?
I believe you has established the cause of the smoke which veiled proceedings earlier.
It seems to have been an advanced form of smoke grenade, of the sort typical employed by the army.
Good gracious! The army? What in the devil's name?
It was an elaborate attempt by the young girl to cloak her escape from the public gallery, but she was caught. And now occupies the stand.
Your name, girl?
Are you responsible for the smoke grenade which induced such pandemonium here in my courtroom? What is the meaning of this deplorable behavior?
If I may, my lord.
Mr. McGilden?
I think perhaps I ought to explain here why it is that this wee lass was here in the first place, and why she tried to bolt like that. 'Tis all tied up with the events of that night, so it is.
Very well, Mr. McGilden, give your testimony. You will explain to the court exactly how this young woman is involved in the case.
Silence. Just what did happen that night? Hey, Neff. It's not like a defense lawyer needs that information or anything.
On the night in question, I took the back seat in the omnibus and properly nodded off. Then, bugger all, a loud thud and a wee scream woke me with a fair start. There was a fella collapsed on the floor at my feet, so I sat him up in the seat across from me. Then I turned to find where that scream had come from, and bless my soul, what did I find? There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away.
I remain somewhat baffled, I confess. But from what I gather, on the night in question, this young girl was indeed riding in the omnibus, is that correct?
'Tis exactly as the defense counsel said. This lass was the fifth passenger, my lord.
Very well. The defense may now cross-examine the witnesses. Are you ready, counsel?
Yes, my lord. Or rather, no? I have no idea where to start. I'm just gonna give this dumb-looking face that everyone memes, because obviously we're going to. In question, I took the back seat in the omnibus and probably nodded off. And when you first got on to the omnibus, were there any other passengers already on board?
There were not. The cabin was empty, and there was no one on the roof deck either.
You were the first passenger, as it were, I see.
Aye, and that's why I took the back seat, I did. 'Tis the most comfortable, so it is.
Could you explain exactly what you mean by the back seat?
By all means, 'tis how you already described it earlier. I'm talking about the seat opposite the one in which the poor gentleman was stabbed was seated. Like I said, 'tis the most comfortable, where I feel most at ease. And of course, I enjoy gazing through the starlight from time to time as well.
Then bugger all, loud thud, and a wee scream. A loud thud, you say, and a scream.
Aye, that's right. How can I explain it? 'Twas like the sound of someone falling to the ground, that sort of noise.
So you think it was the sound of Mr. Mason falling to the floor having been stabbed?
Well now, you'll remember I was asleep at the time, so I wouldn't like to say. But when the sound woke me and I opened my eyes, there was a soul to be seen in the carriage but the fellow on the floor.
You didn't see anyone. But at the same moment you did hear a scream?
Ah, from the seats above you on the roof deck, I presume?
Not above me, no, my lord. 'Twas from inside the cabin. But I wasn't altogether thinking about the scream. No, I was too stunned by this desperate sight before me.
There's a fellow collapsed on the floor at my feet. You sat him up? The victim, you mean?
That I did, on a seat across from me, as I said. I could plainly see the poor devil was already gone. And you wouldn't leave a dead man just lying on the floor now, would you?
Yes. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to touch it.
'Tis common courtesy, so it is.
I find that a little hard to believe.
Don't kink shame. How is that kink shame? What kink? What is the kink of standing corpses? Please, enlighten me. I thought you were supposed to eat the dead. Well, we're just crossing all sorts of streams, mindsets, aren't we, tonight? Ara! Ara? Ara. Lord Van Sykes, now why would that be?
You wake to find a man lying dead at your feet in the carriage. Any normal person would hail the cabman. Any upstanding member of London society, that is.
You can't just say he fucked. So sitting up is a good excuse. Well, now, as you know, I'm in something of a special line of business.
The business of lending money at exorbitant rates of interest.
Unfortunately, my lord, not everyone is thankful for the help I offer them, and some would even see me dead. So I do try, where at all possible, to avoid getting myself in a tangle with trouble.
Are you suggesting you were just going to leave the man there?
Heavens alive, no. I was always intended to report it, so I was. Only, I had a mind to find out whys and wherefores first.
The whys and wherefores?
Right you are. There are some details I wanted to understand before anyone else got to meddling. That wee scream I heard, for example. Wouldn't your good self do just the same?
Yeah, the scream he says he heard at the same time as the thud of the victim collapsing. Then I turned to find what the scream come from. Bless my soul, what did I find? I'm afraid I don't understand. I'm sure you told the court that there was no one else in the carriage except you and the victim.
So I did, sir, though, so I did. As far as I could see, that is.
What do you mean by that?
Well now, 'tis a queer thing. A wee scream I heard as I woke up. It came from, if you'll excuse the vulgar expression, under me backside.
Good gracious.
Under your backside? Oh, she was hiding in the... There was a little compartment for storing tools in one of the seats. Okay.
And when I lifted the seat on which I'd been sitting, I found there was a wee cubby hole there for storage.
Mr. Naruhodo, we can examine the omnibus ourselves, remember? Yeah, I know, I already did it. Susato. Yes, of course, the whole bus was submitted as evidence. This would be a good time to have a thorough look inside. I already did.
And that's when I found her. There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away.
Oh, shoot, I forgot to press that one. I do wonder how you must be feeling, Mr. Naruhodo. Being the defendant's lawyer and yet finding myself as stunned as everyone else at his testimony? Let's just say it's trying. We certainly had precious little time to talk to Mr. McGilder before the trial. But we mustn't be dispirited. We must try and learn all the facts we can. When we arrived in London this morning, I didn't see my day panning out like this. Mr. Naruhodo, no grumbling, even in your head. How did you know? Assistant powers, that's how.
Hold it!
You say she was hiding herself?
Aye, that's right. 'Twas hard to see in the dim lamplight, but she was all curled up in a wee ball. When our eyes met, well, my heart nearly stopped beating in my chest.
You're really overacting this.
Still in all, I pulled her out from under there and sat her on the seat opposite, so I have a wee chinwag with her.
You should let me read lines with you. I could do the ladies. Actually, so, I found myself, one of my friends, Lovie, is also a giant Ace Attorney nerd, and they're a little behind me. And they just started this case last night, and I was in chat, and they asked me to come in to help with voices because we have 6 jurors, 3 witnesses, and a brand new prosecutor. So I was up till 1 a.m. voice acting. So that was fun. I don't know. After this case is case 4, which should be, I think, the first more traditional case, because we've had 3 untraditional sort of caseloads, or chapters, I should say. But I don't know. Planning ahead with people who want to do some voice acting might be fun. I do. Oh, because we're gonna meet Watson, and she's like, she looks fucking 10. So that might be fun. I don't know. I'll see who wants to jump in Discord and do some voice acting at some point. I'll set up little avatars too. Anyway, the seat opposite. That's right, just next to the dead gentleman there. I found a small child. I was like, here, keep this corpse warm.
You sat this young girl next to a corpse, sir.
Well, as I'm sure I mentioned, a gentleman in my position can all too often find himself in mortal danger. So, I needed to find out just who this urchin was, you see. And while I was in the middle of talking with her, I heard another scream. A fella's voice this time.
Presumably, that scream was Mr. First, who was sitting on the roof deck seats.
Right you are again, I would say, sir. Looking down through the skylight, he must have seen this young girl and the gentleman with a knife in his belly.
In other words, the previous set witness did not, in fact, see you at all, Mr. McGilden. What they believed to be yourself and the victim was, in fact, this girl and the late Mr. Mason?
Aye, my lord. I was, as I think everyone understands now, sat at the back of the carriage out of sight.
It is certainly plausible. The defendant is somewhat diminutive in stature, and readily confused perhaps for this young girl.
After that, of course, with the scream from the gentleman over us, the driver realized something was wrong and pulled up the horses.
Well, thank you, I've heard enough. The events as explained are clear in my mind. However, at least one conundrum remains. Who is the girl?
Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer, earns her crust among large crowds, relieving people of their purses. What's commonly called a pickpocket.
What?
This girl here, a petty thief. With a really neat messenger bag. Order, order! Is this true, Miss Lestrade? Miss Lestrade, you will answer the question.
It's probably pronounced Gina. Okay.
Okay.
The fuck?
How dare you? What is the meaning of this? Ah! The girl! She's gone!
Open your eyes. I'm over here.
Good gracious, how?
What was the point in that little sidestep? I know what you lot are thinking. Grown-ups are all the same. This dirty little dipper, you'll say, slipped up and got caught on the job. She got herself backed into a corner, so she knifed the gent. Go on. That's what in your heads, ain't it? No, not at all. This is a court of law. We're here to determine the truth, not Look, knives are for cowards. Only thugs use weapons like that. All I need for what I do is these fingers. I'm a professional, right? Maybe not in your eyes, but I got pride in what I do. Let me guess. You don't count smoke guns among weapons for thugs? Oh, this? Yeah, this was in a bag lifted the other day, down where they keep the the 4-wheel drags.
It's nice, isn't it? I like the pink best.
Ah, do not wave that thing in my direction again.
So, you admit that you were riding the omnibus on the night in question.
'Tis all right, lass. You can tell him the truth now. Yeah. It's just like the Irishman said.
I can't land like a really good voice consistency with her for whatever reason.
The court accepts this girl, Miss Gina Lestrade, as a valid and significant witness in this case. Accordingly, young lady, we will now hear your testimony, if you please. You'll tell the court exactly what happened in the omnibus on the night in question.
If I have to. So I snuck inside the carriage before they hooked up the horses, just like always. But it was a right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles that night. I tell ya, you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch in there. Then after a while, I heard this loud bang. Nearly jumped out my skin, I did, and the scream just came out. It's because of that this swell found me. He did help me get a wire, mind. Yes, he let you go.
I fail to understand why you would let this street urchin go, Mr. McGilded.
Oh, 'tis simply itself, my lord. You see, she couldn't possibly kill the other passenger. I knew that for a fact.
How?
As I'm sure I said before. I was sitting right on top of the place where she was hiding herself.
I think a demonstration is called for.
This is where I sat that night. And the cubby hole which you have spoken is underneath this seat, I presume.
Oh, that's the judge.
Yes, it does appear just large enough to accommodate someone of the girl's stature.
Aye, but of course the wee lass was stuck in there. Because I parked myself on the seat for the duration.
Ah.
So you see, that's why I let the lass bolt. I knew that if the police found her there, they'd automatically assume she'd done it. But I couldn't live with myself if a young life was ruined, when all the time I knew she was innocent. Well, blah, 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 blah. I'm taking water.
Even though you must have realized your action would result in your own innocence being called into question.
Not at all, my lord, not at all. I knew in my own heart I was innocent. So I thought it was worth taking a punt on my own good name for the sake of this less fortunate lass.
My goodness.
What a perfect gentleman.
My lord, this fine example of a man cannot possibly be guilty of a heinous crime like this. I'm ashamed of myself for ever doubting you, sir.
With calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time.
Saints alive! All 6 members of the jury consensual in their leaning to a verdict of not guilty.
Mr. Naruhodo, it must mean... It must mean what? That we're victorious. We've won? Are you sure?
What the fuck? My dude's limber.
If the sight of my iron-heeled Wellington offends, pray do forgive the discourtesy.
Oh, to be that desk.
This really is a consummate example of the one monumental flaw in British judicial practices, where evidence and reasoning should be paramount. Emotion rules the day.
Emotion?
The witness's latest statement gives us a clear insight into his true nature.
What do you mean, his true nature?
Do you really think Scotland Yard would have made such a glaring omission? After the incident, the omnibus was comprehensively searched by officers of the police. Obviously, the interior of this cubbyhole, as the witness put it, was included in their investigation. The compartment under the posterior seat was full of the coachman's belongings. It's noted in black and white here in the police report.
Good Lord!
The evidence has been tampered with. In order to corroborate Mr. McGilder's story, someone has unlawfully removed everything from under the seat.
What?
Order! Order!
How could such a devious contrivance possibly have been effected, counsel?
Naturally, we must acknowledge the deficiencies of the constabulary in allowing this to have happened. However, I assure you, when the omnibus was wheeled into the courtroom this morning, the compartment under the seat was not empty. Well, my Nipponese friend?
Me?
When the carriage was submitted as evidence, doubtless you examined it in fine detail, as would any self-respecting practitioner of the law.
Yeah, and there was shit under there.
Pray, what did you find the condition of the undersea compartment to be?
Oh, to be sure. The young gentleman will be able to clear this up in a jiffy.
Sorry?
Go ahead. You tell the court now, fella. How this was all an elaborate excuse by the desperate Lord Van Sykes.
Excuse you the fuck? Nani the fuck? Well, counsel, do you have something to say on this matter? How am I supposed to answer? What can I say about the state of that little compartment under the seat in the omnibus? I didn't look. It was empty. It wasn't empty. I really don't know if giving this answer is helping my case as counsel for the defense. But as far as I remember, at least. When I first examined the compartment, I'm fairly certain there was a number of articles inside it, yes. Are you sure, counsel?
Be whilst. What are you saying now, you daft daw? I thought you were on my side here.
I am a fucking defense attorney. I seek the truth, you bitch.
What game are you playing? Your task is to defend the man in the stand. Why would you say something to compromise his position?
As the advocate for the defense in this trial, I confess I'm still not entirely sure where I stand. But it seems to me that I should state what facts I do know as clearly and honestly as possible.
Interesting.
'Tis not altogether pleasing, fella.
I'm simply telling the truth, Mr. McGilded.
Well, don't forget that you're supposed to be representing my best interest here, lad. Now then. A fella's memory is a curious thing, and not altogether reliable. No, the court must consider the facts. That there's cubbyhole under the seat is as empty as the devil's heart, so it is. Do you think perhaps it would be in your best interest now to admit that you might have been mistaken?
Why? Why do I feel like something's not right here?
I should like the jury to weigh in on this matter, I think. That compartment is assigned to house equipment used to maintain the smooth running of the coach. The guild's rules state the omnibus should be properly and fully equipped at all times. So it certainly wouldn't have been empty on the night in question. Beppo isn't that irresponsible. That money-lending fleecer and the pick purse are lying.
I can't believe I was nearly taken in. The stinking rich are always stinkers. Nothing but cowards, the lot of them. What? Oh no. It's a trick. Of course it's a trick. Quite so. I must concur here. With calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time. Yes, but every time's a different truth, it seems. My lord, I humbly exhibit the scales of justice. Clearly, a verdict of not guilty at this time would be wholly inappropriate.
Thank you, counsel. But before we proceed any further, there's a matter of outstanding cross-examination. Counsel for the defense, begin your questioning of the witness, please.
Yes, my lord. What just happened? The whole balance of the trial just shifted almost beyond recognition. The Reaper of the Bailey is at work, it would seem. What the girl saw. So I snuck inside the carriage before they hooked up the horses, just like always. Hold it! So, you are already in the omnibus before it even set off on its run. Well, yeah. I mean, what's the point of spending a joey to make a few bob, eh? It's a rum idea, innit? I suppose she means there's no point spending money to make money. It actually makes sense.
Counsel, may I remind you that this girl is a petty thief. Kindly refrain from entertaining her tenants.
Well, that does clear up a little mystery of the fares and all. 4 paying passengers at 5 pence apiece, making the 20th to which the cabman testified. And one little scapegrace riding for free. The red conch of a driver always goes for some grub before its last run, see? So that's when I slipped in the carriage and get myself hidden under the seat. Nice and easy, right? But your hiding place is a storage compartment. Full of equipment for the coach, no? Yeah, there's brushes and buckets and whatnot in there, sure. I always chuck them all out and cram in the corner somewhere. No one ever seems to bother much. And yet, according to the report filed by the police officer who first arrived at the scene, the compartment was full of such paraphernalia. Well, I don't know nothing about that. Like I said, I moved all that stuff out so I could hide in the seat. That's all I can tell you.
It seems we've reached the end of that line of inquiry. Continue.
But it was the right waste of time.
Hold it!
A waste of time? Why is that?
Well, most nights I'm all my own in the god permit.
At least some of the time. It is really hard to get all these words right with her.
I beg your pardon? Did you say God permit?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what my kind call it. You'd say the omnibus, I suppose. The point is, any normal run, the carriage ain't got no one in it for a while. And that's when you come out of your hiding place and get away? That's it. Only that night. This culprit sat on me seat from the start. And he didn't budge the whole way, did he? Not 1 inch. I was totally stuck.
Do you mean to tell us you were present in the carriage for the duration? You were under the seat the entire time while events unfolded in the enclosed cabin?
Yeah. Right, mister?
To be sure, I was as shocked as anyone. You don't expect to lift a cushion and you've been sat on and find a child now, do you?
So this Miss Lestrade couldn't possibly be the culprit then. I tell you, you ain't got a blind thing in this hiding place. It's pitch in there. Hold it! So you couldn't see out into the cabin at all. Not a jot. Most days I push the curtain up with my head and look out the crack. Then I have a butcher's at who I'm gonna fiddle. I thought you were a pickpocket, not a butcher. I mean, I can have a look. The seat I get under ain't as plush as the other ones, see? So most of the time the passengers plant themselves opposite. But for some reason that night, this here Irishman spent the whole journey right over my head. And for that reason, you weren't able to push the cushion out to peek. Blah blah blah. You weren't able to push the cushion up to peek out. I see. Truth is, I ain't too happy in small dark places. Feels too much like being thrown in the clink. But it's the only place to hide in them carriages, so it's Obson's choice. Why doesn't she just stick to picking people's pockets in the open then? I'd say there's some reason that she's not letting on, judging from her demeanor. So anyway, I was a bit scared, and I had just stick it out from under there, nothing else for it. Then after a while, I hear a loud bang, nearly jumped my skin, and I screamed. When you say a loud bang, do you mean the noise of someone falling to the floor? Good, Ben. I suppose I don't remember so well. Point is, it made me jump. And you let out a scream involuntarily? That's right. And then I felt the cushion over my head get lighter all of a sudden. Felt the cushion on my head get lighter all of a sudden. Presumably when the defendant got up in order to help the victim, yes. Or not. It could equally have been the moment the accused stood in order to stab his victim, could it not?
Well, girl, did you see what happened at that crucial moment?
Yeah, I saw it. I pushed up the cushion and had a quick butcher's while I had the chance, didn't I? The Irishman was sitting up the bloke what had fallen on the floor on the opposite seat. That matches Mr. McGilder's account, of course. But then, the fellow suddenly turns around and looks right at me. I sunk back down again, but it was a little too late by then. I should never have risked looking. It's because of that this swell found me. And when Mr. McGilder discovered you, he pulled you out from your hiding place? I was scared stiff, I was. He dragged me out and sat me down on the seat and all. Next to the victim, Mr. Mason? Yeah, the bloke had a knife in his gut. He was still bleeding. Then the carriage lurched a bit, and he ended up falling onto me. Oh, how awful. Both me hands got covered in blood. It made me feel sick as a dog. Both her hands covered in blood? That must be what the rooftop passenger saw. After that, I believe you talked with Mr. McGilder for a while. Is that correct? He asked me some stuff. Wanted to know my name. and what I was up to and that. Then I heard something from up above. Someone screamed.
Yes, Mr. First on the roof deck, one would presume.
Well, I didn't want no one seeing my face, so I didn't look up. Then the horses were drawn up smartish, and here's Irishman says to me,
Get back under the seat. I'll see that you get away later.
all 6 members of the jury have decided the defendant was innocent. For one brief shining moment, yes. It's clear that they all still feel very unsure. If we could just find some conclusive piece of evidence amongst this new testimony, I'm sure we could clinch the verdict we want. Yes, I think you're right, and I have this niggling feeling something's bothering me, but I just can't quite put my finger on it. Alright, so a quick look through it all again. So I snuck inside the carriage before they hooked up the horses. It was a waste of time, nothing to show for my troubles. Can't see a blind thing in that hiding place, it's pitch in there. Then after a while I hear this loud bang. Nearly jumped out of my skin, and the scream just came out. Because that I was found, he helped me get away, mind. Alright, let's see what we got. Alright, Stab, what's the idea of the knife while journeying in an omnibus died to internal injury resulting from trauma? Even the knife in his gut. Sat back up in the seat. Leather gloves the defendant was wearing at the time of the incident. There's a blood stain on the right glove. She says she got glove on both her hands. The 8-seater omnibus that was at the scene of the crime, there were passengers inside the carriage and the roof of the deck. Huh. A largish knife that was found lodged in the victim's abdomen. Its quality and fancy ornamentation suggests it's quite valuable. Huh. Well, I hear this loud bang nearly jumped out of my skin. Because of that, the swell found me, helped me get away. I can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch in there. Wait, let me look. Let me look in here again. That's blood, isn't it? Is something wrong? Oh, it's just, well, this blood stain is so obvious, that's all. And yet, Van Sykes has made no mention of it. So that does seem a little strange. Why do I have such a bad feeling about this? It's blood stain soaked in the seat. Okay, 1 second. Someone gets uppity if they feel they need to be fed. Alright, huh. Waste of time, nothing chauffeuring troubles. And after a while, I hear this loud bang, nearly jumped on my skin. And then the scream just came out. Wait, but that doesn't make sense, though. You heard a loud bang, but that made you scream? Wait, but... I don't know, something? Is there a way I can just reread that portion again? No, okay. It started back. Let me press this one again. I mean the noise from on the floor. Could have been, I suppose. I don't remember so well. Point is, it made me jump. Let out a scream. That's right, and then I felt the cushion over my head get lighter all of a sudden. Presumably the defendant got up in order to help the victim. Or not, it could be in when he stabbed. Do you see what happened in that crucial moment? Yeah, I saw it. I pushed up the cushion and had a quick butcher's while I had the chance. The Irishman was sitting up the bloke what had fallen on the floor on the seat opposite. That matches the account. But then the fella suddenly turns around and looks right at me. Let me push the other one too. You discover you pulled you out, scared stiff. I was, dragged me out and set me in the seat. Next to the victim, yeah. The bloke had a knife in his gut. He was still bleeding. Then the carriage lurched a bit, and he ended up falling onto me. How awful. Both my hands got covered in blood. It made me feel sick as a dog. Both your hands covered in blood. What the rooftop passenger saw after that, I believe you talked. Hey, Crom. We're trying to figure this out. Get back in the seat. I'll see you get out. There was some point where Naruhodo got really concerned. I think it was this one he was initially concerned with. See out? Couldn't see anything out. I mean to have a look. Passengers plant themselves opposite. He spent the whole journey right over me, and for that reason you weren't able to push the cushion out to peek. I ain't happy about small dark places. Feels too much like... Whoa! Wait.
Excuse me.
You didn't do that before. Is something wrong, Mr. McGilded?
Oh, I do apologize. Was there something the matter, Counsel?
I'm just wondering if Miss Lestrade's last comment made something occur to you, perhaps. You seem to be thinking something to yourself.
Oh, no. 'Twas nothing important. I was feeling bad for the poor lass is all. I remember feeling desperate myself as a young lad, shut up in the dark. 'Twas terrifying, so it was.
I see. Yes, I'm sure we can all sympathize. I'm still scared of the dark.
Aye. And I don't know about yourself, but I find that the darkness seems to be everything you hear seem too much louder as well.
Yeah. I suppose it does, maybe. Miss Lestrade, did you hear something that night? Anything, an unusual noise, perhaps? Nah, not really. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring.
Be jabbers! There's no need to tell the whole world of me foibles, you little scamp.
What a pity. If only Miss Lestrade had heard something, it might have given us a vital new clue. Yeah. What should we make of that last statement of hers? She says she didn't hear anything. Wait, if she didn't hear anything, then when was the stabbing? I'm going to call its importance into question. My lord, I believe the statement just made by the witness is profoundly important.
Profoundly important, but all she said was that she heard nothing.
Yes, which is profoundly important point. I'm almost sure of it.
I'm almost sure that I don't understand the inner workings of your Eastern mind, Counsel. Nevertheless, Miss Gina Lestrade, you will supplement your formal testimony by repeating that last statement, please.
What? Supplement? What you on about? Don't give me all your fancy talk. I know what you're trying to do. Well, it won't work on me. That's right. Insult the judge. Always a good move. Ask, why is Santa the judge? Santa's always the judge. He has the only difference would be there were like 2 cases where they had to like go back in time, quote unquote, and in the American translation, it, like the change in the judge's features was simply described as this is a Canadian judge. That was the only explanation as to why he looked different. Everyone else looks like Santa. I was straining my ears to work out what was going on, but all I could hear was snoring. Hold it! So you're straining to hear what was happening the entire time, since the moment you hid yourself? Not exactly, no. Sorry? Well, there was no one in the cabin to start with. I could just push the cushion up and have a butcher's to see what was what. But then, when I saw this swell get on, I got me head down just so he didn't notice me. And Mr. McGilded sat on the seat under which you were hiding, correct? Yeah. Would you Adam and Eve it, I? What a mug. So then all I could do was listen. I was waiting to jump out of there as soon as I heard him leave, see? But would he? Not likely. Even though we stopped in there, I never heard the door open. So I just had to stay put and listen to him driving. His pigs to market, snorting like an old dog he was. Are there any conclusions you can draw from that, I wonder? It doesn't add up. If the door didn't open, then how did the dude get in there? Miss Lestrade, what you've just told the court is clearly at odds with the facts.
At odds? Are you sure, man?
Absolutely. It seems my learned Nipponese friend is not as dull-witted as I feared. So Van Seeks realized it too. Wait, did he like fall through the fucking skylight? No. Wait, none of that makes sense.
I must insist that you bolster your claim with evidence, or some complicit party's name at the very least.
Yes, my lord.
I expect you to demonstrate this alleged contradiction to the court.
According to Miss Lestrade, while she was hiding in the omnibus that night, she heard nothing but the sound of Mr. McGilded snoring. But think, Ryunosuke, think. There's something else she should have heard. Very well, my lord. Allow me to elaborate. On a particular sound that Miss Lestrade could not have failed to hear on the night in question. The presence of the following person.
Take that!
Thrice-fired mason?
Yes, my lord. The sound that Miss Lestrade cannot have failed to hear is that of the victim, Mr. Mason, boarding the omnibus.
Order, order! Explain your reasoning, counsel.
Miss Lestrade, allow me to confirm something. You claimed earlier that you were the first person to board the omnibus, is that correct? Yeah, of course I was. I got home while the driver was in the pub, didn't I? And the next person to board the omnibus was Mr. McGilded?
That it was. Not a soul was in the cabin when I climbed aboard. At least, not in plain sight.
So you were, to all intents and purposes, alone in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus at that time.
Did I not just say as much? I wasn't traveling with anyone else, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, I saw him get on, remember? Through the crack under the seat cushion. He was on his own, for sure. And from what we've heard, the carriage made a number of stops after that on its onward journey. During which time, did you not hear the door opening or closing at all? Nah, I never heard it. That's exactly what I was listening for, wasn't it? Waiting for that swell dope to leave. In which case, when and how did the victim end up in the carriage?
Oh!
We know that the victim collapsed inside the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. Therefore, Miss Lestrade's statement about what she did or did not hear is at odds with the facts. Ah! Yes, this petty thief statement was clearly flawed. I needed more water.
Lord Van Sykes.
Yes, he knew. He knew all too well that there was an inconsistency in Miss Lestrade's statement. It would seem words of thanks are in order for my learned friend. What are you talking about? You have demonstrated matters impeccably. This witness and her colorful statements are entirely unreliable. Her words are convenient untruths, nothing more.
He's dead right. How could the victim possibly not have boarded the omnibus? That makes no sense whatsoever. Rabble, rabble, rabble. Rabble, 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 rabble. Rabble, rabble.
She didn't even say anything.
I didn't want the judge to judge the dear little mite just because she was rather naughty ways. But I must say, I can't abide liars.
Neither can I.
Mr. Foreman?
I didn't want to judge the girl just because she was some less than salubrious ways. But I must say, I cannot abide liars.
Am I gonna have to fight the jury again?
Ah!
Mr. Naruhodo, that's 5 jury members leaning towards guilty. Well, your consideration for others is refreshing, my Nipponi's friend. To the considerable troubles you have spared me. Yes, very refreshing.
Ah! Gah! What are you playing at? Have you forgotten who you're working for, you useless Eastern Amadan?
This is carnage, it's perfect! Juror number 2 is the only one left. Mr. Naruhodo, the way this is going... I know, if we can't find some new way to convince everyone of Mr. McGilder's innocence, the judge will rule and we'll have lost. I very much wanted to believe the words of one of London's most respectable gentlemen, but those of us in service know we must accept hard truths.
Hold it!
Yes, the witness's last statement seems to have revealed a critical inconsistency in her story. However, if we consider the possibility that her statement is in fact the truth, it may shed an entirely new light on this whole case. What are you saying?
Counsel?
Sorry, sir? Whatever do you mean?
Counsel, I will not tolerate you attempting to prorogue my education. Explain yourself at once.
When the accused boarded the omnibus on the night in question, the victim was nowhere to be seen. Subsequently, The carriage door was not heard opening a single time, as testified by the witness in the stand.
And yet the victim's body was found inside the carriage.
If this petty thief's words are to be believed, how do you explain the victim's miraculous appearance inside the cabin of the omnibus?
Slap yourself! Slap yourself! There's only one way to explain how the victim came to be inside the carriage. He was in there already. There's another entrance. He was put there after he died. He was put there at... Wait. He was put there after he died. Okay, he wasn't already in there because there's not another entrance to the coach. There's no other entrance. There's only one working door. The skylight does open up. It's put there after he died. That would explain the giant thud. Because the first two don't make sense. Obviously, the victim must have been placed in the carriage after he was killed.
Tell me, my learned friend, what was the function of that obviously in your last sentence?
Huh?
Well said, Lord Pensykes. The obviously is troubling me also.
No. That's really not the point. The point is the victim must have been moved into the carriage afterwards.
Then answer me this. How could a cadaver have been placed inside a moving carriage?
Well, obviously, What? That wasn't right? And who waved them off? Because I thought that made sense with the thud. Is dropping him through the skylight. He was already there. There's another entrance. Could there have been another hidden door? He was in there already from beforehand. Tell me, my learned friend, what was the function that clearly in your last statement?
Was?
Wait, did I get it wrong both times? How is there... Oh, wait, no. They're talking about the skyline with the fucking second entrance. That was the whole point of the dead body. Oh, my word. I'm actually angry now. That was the whole point I made with him already being dead. Now I'm actually annoyed. If the door wasn't open even once, the only explanation is that the victim entered the enclosed cabin some other way.
I wondered what new fantasy you would come up with in your blind panic. But behold, the omnibus is here for all to see. Only one side of the enclosed cabin is furnished with a door. The other has only windows. Fixed windows, which cannot possibly open. In short, there's no entrance to the cabin other than the door.
But there could be. There's one possibility you haven't considered.
Oh, really?
Yes, one other way inside that isn't the door. Another opening, the use of which allowed the victim to appear inside the enclosed cabin.
All right, counsel. The defense will identify the location for the court.
What's the entrance which you propose?
Take that!
The answer is obvious. It can only have been the skylight.
I say the skylight.
Objection!
Your ludicrous proposal almost has me lost for words. However,
Objection!
Meet the word count requirement for the amount of repetitive talk going on. The skylight may well be large enough for someone to pass through.
Objection!
so you claim, but you have a shred of evidence to support your addle-brained theory.
Both Mr. McGilded and Miss Lestrade said the same in their testimonies. They each claimed to have heard a loud thud, such as the noise made by someone falling to the floor.
Yes, which has already been explained. As the sound of the victim falling from his seat, having been assaulted with a dagger.
Yes, it has, but would a man slipping from the seat onto the floor really have made such a loud noise, as the witness described? Fairplay stabbed him as he's jumping into the cabin? Ooh. Wait, no, but why, though? Or would it could have been Lady first. We have two other possible killers. Well, yeah, he would, but why would he stab the? I don't know. We'll figure it out. A loud noise enough to cause Miss Lestrade to let out an involuntary cry. In fact,
Good gracious!
perhaps in fact, that was the moment that the victim made his entrance into the cabin. No, let me rephrase that. The victim didn't enter the cabin as such. He fell into it.
Objection!
You're now suggesting that the victim fell from the skylight into the cabin. That's simply impossible.
How can you be so sure?
Because if the victim had fallen inside through the skylight as you say, the passengers on the roof deck would have seen it happen. And yet, not one person made mention of such events in their testimony.
Well, yes, that's true. A humble fella, make a wee comment here. Mr. McGilded?
To be sure now, the two fellas who were sat on the roof that testify afore said nothing to the victim falling through the skylight. But it seems to me, my lord, that 'tis not so much a case of them not saying, but... Aye. 'Tis a case of them being unable to say.
What?
I think perhaps the two fellas do be having something of a compelling reason not to mention what happened. Would yous not agree, fine ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Oh my goodness, surely not. Those two chaps on the roof?
You mean the ones who stuck the knife in the man were...
Ah!
Just what exactly are you insinuating here, you blitherer? What the fuck?
Wait, lady first. Oh, fuck, he's a horse race fanatic. Shit, that's what it means.
He's not a gentleman. You rotter, he said. You rotter. What are you insinuating?
This is a flaming outrage. I've a good mind to give you a blinker in a minute.
He'll give you a shine in a minute, he said, and so will I.
Mr. Fairplay.
You're effectively accusing me, a cinty gentleman and well-respected banker.
And me, a very angry hatter.
Suggesting that someone like me could have stabbed that man in the guts. It's a disgrace. It's scandalous. I protest. I protest in the strongest possible terms.
That's right. I protest too. You rotten scoundrel.
Order, order, order! This is not the time, witnesses. I will not permit that wanton invasion of the stand. Return to the anteroom at once. But this is beyond reason, my lord. It's outrageous.
It's very hurtful, you know. My lord, if I may comment, I don't understand what the fuck the second witness is doing. He's trying to throw it back, but in the front, I don't understand it.
Go ahead, Lord Van Sykes.
It was the defense that incited this outburst from the witnesses. My learned friend has seen fit to abandon all protocol and accuse the witnesses without proof.
Accuse? I never intended to.
It seems, young Nipponese, that your command of the English tongue is wanting. You propose to this court that the victim fell through the skylight from the roof deck of the omnibus. That hypothesis cannot possibly stand without the rooftop passengers being aware of the offense. You have branded these gentlemen liars. You have intimated their criminal guilt. In our British courts of law, that is what is termed a baseless accusation.
I know it was rash to put that idea forward without any actual evidence, but you can't just dismiss it without a second thought. What are we wasting time for? Get them to testify.
I thought there was something fishy about that hat from the moment I laid eyes on the fellow. We have to see what this matter through now, one way or another.
If there's filth and rubbish in our midst, we must dispose of it at once. What's happening, Mr. Naruhodo?
The spectators in the public gallery they're voice acting. No.
They're in a complete frenzy.
Mr. Fairplay, Mr. Fest. My lord? You will take the stand again and make another formal testimony in reference to the indictment brought by the defense. Yes, my lord.
I didn't come here for this.
You know, okay, that is a wholly deserved chuckle to oneself. There's no time to think this through. All I can do is keep pushing forward. I was not expecting the crowd testify chant. That was cool.
We were the only two people up on the roof deck, dead or alive, I can swear to that.
If anything had happened where we were sitting, don't you think one of the other of us would have noticed?
In any case, neither of us know the first thing about the victim. We had no reason to kill the man.
The skylight was shut the entire time, I tell you. We couldn't possibly have opened it.
But you were actually the only ones who could have opened it.
If you're so sure the victim fell through the skylight, where's your proof? I must say that on listening to this testimony, it is somewhat hard to imagine. how either witness could have performed any malevolent act on this open rooftop deck without the other noticing forthwith. That's right, you see.
We're innocent, I tell you. Although logically, of course, the argument falls down if the two were in collusion with one another.
What?
Eh? According to investigations by Scotland Yard, the two witnesses share no common dealings.
Ha! Well, I don't trust coppers any more than I trust the stinking rich.
Something doesn't feel right here. The trial's going in our favor, really. So why do I feel uneasy?
Counsel for the defense, over to you. Your cross-examination, please.
Oh, yes, my lord. This is not going to go in the direction we expect at all.
We were the only two people up on the roof deck.
Oh, you know, actually, hold on. We're just going to safety save here.
I swear it.
So at no time did the victim, Mr. Mason, climb up to join you on the roof deck.
Absolutely not. Dickens.
No question about it, he said. Not at all. Oh, but yes, of course. I remember seeing them both. That suit does not fit him either. Like, there's something up with that kid. I saw the victim inside the enclosed cabin talking with this man here.
Is that true, Mr. McGilded?
Dear me, my lord, at the risk of repeating myself, I boarded the omnibus alone and nodded off inside almost immediately.
That's an outright lie. Without doubt, you were engaged in...
Let me stop you there, fella, and ask, do you have any evidence at all? At all?
Brr.
'Tis all about evidence in the courts these days, so it is. You do well to remember that.
Ah, I saw you with my own eyes.
This is going so well. If anything had happened where we were sitting, don't you think one or the other of us would have noticed? Well, it was on my final run of the omnibus at past 10 o'clock in the evening. It was on the final run of the omnibus past 10 in the evening. It would certainly have been dark. Perhaps too dark to see clearly?
Is that some kind of a lark?
Is this some kind of a joke, he said. Is that what it is? Or perhaps one or the other of you fell asleep briefly?
Are you fair dickum, sir?
Are you serious, sir? That's what he said. It's impossible, I tell you.
I'd give you the keys to the vault if you could fall asleep in that bitter cold. And if you did manage it, your eyelids would freeze shut and you'd never open them again.
That's extreme. It was extreme, I tell you, and we had to put up with it because this man had locked the door. Any true gent would have unlocked it and let me in when I knocked.
I'm dreadfully sorry about that, young fella. But you see, I was away with the fairies and I didn't hear you at all.
That's a lie. I saw you through the glass. You were talking to someone.
Now, 'twas a cold night, so it was. So to be seeing things that aren't real in the cold, 'tis hardly surprising.
Seeing things? Seeing things? What do I feel like I would want Peyton to voice that dandy boy?
I believe we've reached an impasse here on this particular point.
Oh, you!
Don't take it personally now, lad. If I'm a suspect in this case, then 'tis only fair for you and the other fin all too. Open and free competition is what a capitalist society is all about.
This isn't a competition I should like to be involved in, really.
In any case, neither of us know the first thing about the victim. We had no reason to kill the man.
So, you had never met Mr. Thrice-Fired Mason before?
Oh, Lumi, no! Not once, never!
He'd never met the man before, he said. Never. And you, Mr. First, had no prior dealings with the victim either? That's right, sir. Hatters don't have much to do with brickmakers, to be perfectly honest, sir.
No, I'd imagine not. You see, how many different ways can I put this?
Well, now.
Oh,
Excuse me.
Mr. McGilded?
Yes, counsel, what can I do you for?
Did the witness's last statement give you pause for thought somehow?
Not the remotest connection. Is that right now, I wonder?
what are you insinuating now?
Ah, Mr. Fairplay, 'tas been too long, so it has. If I'm not very much mistaken, I believe 'tis fast approaching, is it not? Your repayment date.
I beg your pardon?
You borrowed 20 guineas from me, sir.
At an unconscionable rate of interest. You tricked me. It's extortion.
Well now, is that a touch of begrudgery, is it? The sort of begrudgery that might motivate a fella to pass his crimes off on another?
Huh.
And young first.
Me, sir? What do you want with me, sir?
You do be making hats for a living, do you not? That there top hat sliding on your head. Is that one of your own creations, is it?
Oh, well, I'm still just an apprentice, you understand. I'm learning to find the perfect fit for whatever fine gent walks through the door.
The perfect fit, is it? Well, 'tis a very distinctive design, so it is.
Many customers like it, I tell you. They like a distinctive touch.
Customers, such as thrice-fired Mason.
Ah,
There was a photographic print of the victim submitted as evidence before, my lord.
Ah. This, you mean?
I can't help thinking that the poor fella's hat looks distinctly familiar, wouldn't you say?
oh. That's one of my hats.
Aye, so that is. So it would seem the brickmaker was a customer of yours. The sort of customer I'd wager you could have had a wee quarrel with over the distinctiveness of the goods.
Oh, no, sir. Absolutely not, sir.
Well, there's really nothing more to add. It wouldn't be right to say that the two fellas here haven't the remotest connection to the victim, you see. I rest my case.
You little weasel.
He's better at this than I am. Gosh, Mr. McGilded has certainly been through all this research, hasn't he?
Please, don't let me little interruption hold up the proceedings.
The skylight was shut the entire time, I tell you. We couldn't possibly have opened it.
Hold it!
Are you quite certain about that? That the skylight was shut the entire time?
I was going to lose my block with you in a minute.
He's gonna lose his rag with you in a minute. That's what he said.
Take a look for yourself. Go on. You see, it's shut fast now, just like it was on that night.
So it is, of course. A fella the size of Mr. Mason could likely break through right through it, still and all.
What?
Just looking at the size of the thing, you understand?
Ah, now you hold on there for a minute, sir. The size of the ting means nothing. Not on its own, let's consider the bigger picture, shall we?
I'm drinking so much damn water. Let's stop biting arcane, shall we? I was riding the omnibus on another occasion when Well, I broke the window, loudly. I shocked myself with it, as it happens.
This is an unexpected confession, Mr. First.
Oh, I just mean to say, well, the point is, I tried to open the skylight, you see. But, just my luck, I couldn't make it budge. The stench was terrible. Everyone was looking daggers at me, sir. I went as red as a rogue, I did.
Dude fucking farted in the cabin and tried to open a window.
Are you expecting me to sentence you?
Oh, no, sir. The point is, the skylight can't be open. I tried and tried when I was inside that cabin.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to add about that, Miss Lestrade? Miss Lestrade. It opens. Hmm? The skylight. That what we were talking about, right? All them skylights open. Dead easy.
More easily than you can load that weapon?
That's a lie, I tell you. Otherwise, when I broke wind, I... You can't do it from the inside, you mug. Oh? Look, a few weeks ago, I was up on the roof deck, one of them drags. And I had a great haul. I mean, I had purses coming up my ears.
Miss Lestrade, this is not the forum to be elogizing on the subject of your criminal activities.
I probably got that wrong.
Well, anyway, I had a bit of a scare. When I lifted the last bloke's purse, he got wise to me. All four of them surrounded me, so I couldn't top off the bus. And leg it. So what I did was, I used a skylight, opened the catch and jumped right through.
What?
Yeah, the catch for them skylights on the top side. That's why you can open them from the cabin.
The skylight opens from the roof deck?
Bailiff, climb up onto the roof of the omnibus and at once and verify this witness's claims.
Blah.
Ah!
Oh, my hat. See?
Order, order, order! So, it appears that this street girl's statement is quite true.
I don't believe it. The skylight opens. It would help if I actually, looked at the fucking latch, but, who does that?
Mr. Naruhodo. This could be the clue we've been looking for.
Well, counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. So, the skylight opens. Perhaps I should investigate for myself? Go through the skylight. Where's your proof? Alright, let's go take a look at the skylight now. Now that it's going to allow me to actually open it, because it didn't before. So the skylight was fastened shut before, but now the catch has been undone. We should be able to open it. Oh! Yo! Yo, 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 yo! Roof deck the omnibus. Oh, it must have wonderful views for London. Let me see the fucking blood. I see inside the carriage from the opening, that's for sure. Yes, and there's a lamp in the enclosed cabin. Children have been able to see quite clearly. That's not good for us. Do I have to go inside the cabin to look at the blood?
Yes, it does open very wide, doesn't it? Wide enough to kick someone like you through, certainly, Mr. Naruhodo.
Why someone like me?
Ah! What is it?
Look, just there. Look at this.
That's, without a question,
It's blood.
why would there be a blood stain there?
Surely, it can't be unrelated to the case, can it?
Objection.
On the night in question, the victim was fatally stabbed in the stomach. And immediately afterwards, the victim's body was pushed through the skylight into the cabin below. Those are the facts. The irrefutable proof remains clearly visible in the omnibus that stands before us today in this very courtroom.
What? That's utter humbug. You can't possibly have any evidence.
No, you can't. I mean, we didn't do it, I tell you. It's impossible. Irrefutable proof here in this courtroom.
Counsel, my lord. I believe everyone would appreciate a little clarification here. Where exactly within the omnibus is this evidence to which you allude? You'll point out what it is that proves the victim fell from the roof deck through the skylight.
Oh, I need to present it. That's my bad. I would have to point it out if I couldn't present the cabin as proof without first showing. I don't know. They sometimes make you do
Got it.
hoop jumping.
By Jupiter, is that blood?
This bloodstain proves two things. Firstly, when the incident occurred, the skylight of the omnibus was open.
What?
And secondly, the victim was already bleeding when he fell through the opening.
Oh my.
And so it follows that Mr. McGilded, who was inside the enclosed cabin himself at the time, cannot possibly be guilty of this crime.
No! Order, order, order!
Hold it.
But the blood could have sprayed up there when the fellow was stabbed inside the cabin.
And only found its way to that one particular spot on the skylight, surely. And that would have been very convenient.
Up.
And let's keep it in mind that the skylight catch can only be unfastened from the roof deck. I myself wouldn't have been able to open it now, would I? But, there's no way to know for certain, is there? If the gent really fell through the skylight, I mean. Why don't you have a good look at the floor of the cabin between the two seats, Mr. First? 'Tis all too plain, if you see. There's the aftermath that shows the poor fellow drop from a fair height right there, so it is.
What? No!
But it can't be. It's all lies!
My fellow jury members, I think we can all agree that this is clear proof of the defendant's innocence, can't we?
I believe we can, yes, sir. It's clear to me now where the filthy rubbish can be found in this courtroom.
So they thought they could pull the wool over my eyes, did they? Multiple times, did they? I won't tolerate any of the guild's carriages be sullied with blood. I won't tolerate it.
Oh, I always knew that nice gentleman who gave us that delightful park couldn't have done such a thing.
On three, then, everyone. 1, 2, 3.
Objection.
A chilling performance, Mr. McGilded.
Oh? And what would you be referring to there now, Miss Lord Van Sykes?
A bloodstain on the frame of the skylight. Such evidence is null and void.
What?
Why?
For one extremely simple reason. That smear of blood never existed.
Objection!
What are you talking about? It's there for all to see. It's clearly blood.
Objection!
I personally attended Scotland Yard's investigation of the omnibus. The officers involved went over the carriage with a fine-tooth comb. So I can state with absolute surety, no such smear of blood existed in the carriage. At least, not until this trial began.
But
Are you suggesting, Mr. Van Sykes, that this stain of blood was...
Fabricated, my lord? Yes, and while this court has been in session,
what?
What a palaver! I must say I didn't expect such crude reasoning from a prosecutor of your standard, Lord Van Sykes. But I'm Magnus McGilded, a fellow known all over the capital for his fine contributions to public life. I don't take kindly to slander, and I'll fight it to the bitter end. Even if it's rolling off the tongue of the Reaper of the Bailey.
Gina attended the trial so she could fabricate. Maybe, I don't know. There's still, I don't know. There's still something so unsettling about everything. I don't know. Like where all that stuff from the cabin went, why they just happened to have blood for, I don't know. And the fact that he pointed her out to the court. I don't know, it's all weird.
Mr. McGilded, I realize that this is your first appearance in court as the accused. However, I am well aware of your involvement behind the scenes in a great many affairs of dubious nature. You're very adept when it comes to avoiding getting your own hands dirty. And each time it happens that a case you're involved in is investigated, you adapt to the facts.
Adapt the facts. What does that even mean?
When you wield a fortune the size of Mr. McGilded's, however ill-gotten it may be, nothing is impossible. Tampering with evidence, manipulating the scene of a crime, bribing witnesses. I toast your ability to concoct the most convenient of stories, sir.
I don't know, something still feels off even of that explanation.
Tut, Lord Van Sykes. This will not do, to be sure. Will it now, counsel?
Oh, no.
I think it's fair to say this does all sound like a rather far-fetched excuse by a desperate man. The blood on the skylight didn't exist, you say. But if yous will all cast your minds back, is it not true that the omnibus there has been in the court the entire time? How could anyone possibly put a smear of blood in it without a word and his wife seeing? Isn't that right, counsel?
It's true. The omnibus has been in full view the entire time the court has been in session.
My learned friend, here's to hearing your opinion on this matter in your own words.
As you wish. Could someone have tampered with the omnibus during this trial? If you're asking me, I think it could have been possible because of the smoke grenade. I feel like this is a trap, though. I'm saving just in case I get too many things wrong. But during the smoke grenade, it could have been possible. As a defense lawyer, it's my job to advocate for the defendant as best I can. But still, I feel as though there's something even more important at stake here.
There is no evidence to suggest that the defendant did as my learned friend suggests. However, in terms of having the opportunity to carry out the alleged tampering, there is one possibility.
Oh,
Good gracious! Explain yourself, counsel.
yes, there is. It seems my learned neighbor's friend has no intention of running from this deceit.
Deceit?
I'm sure everyone still remembers clearly the recess that we were forced to take. As a result of the smoke grenade fired by the witness currently on the stand, Miss Gina Lestrade. What's going on? Be careful, Miss Naruto. Cover your face. Bailiff, don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus. Hurry, call emergency recess. Bailiff, ensure the defendant's in custody. Clear the courtroom. The courtroom was filled with smoke, and everyone was thrown into confusion. All of us were made to leave this chamber. In that brief interval, under the veil of smoke and in all the chaos, it could have been possible to steal inside the omnibus.
Are you wise? What are you trying to pull, eh? You rotten, feckless gouger.
Feckless gouger?
You're supposed to be defending me. 'Tis a wicked plot. 'Tis a plot to undermine me, so it is.
Objection!
Whatever you think this... Oh, sorry.
Whatever you think this is, it changes nothing. The facts are the same. After this courtroom was evacuated early as a result of the smoke grenade, a number of inconsistencies materialized in relation to the omnibus.
Inconsistencies such as...
To start with, the storage compartment underneath the rear passenger seat. When the police investigated the omnibus, this compartment was full of the driver's items. Secondly, we have a smear of blood on the edge of the skylight. As I have said, that was not present at the start of trial this morning.
Unfortunately, Lord Van Sykes, no one is able to corroborate your claims.
That's true. When the omnibus was first wheeled out, both the storage compartment and the skylight were shut.
Accordingly, I'm afraid to say we cannot establish with any certainty if this evidence is the result of tampering or not.
Indeed, my lord. No doubt there was not a single person who saw fit to verify such things.
What do you think? Sorry?
About the omnibus. Is there anything else unusual about the omnibus?
Is there? I could have sworn there wasn't a bloodstain on the floor. My lord?
Yeah,
I'm getting my voice is confused.
yes, counsel.
There's one further inconsistency. A mark that surely could not have been present at the start of trial.
What?
What in devil's name you going to say now? If you dare betray me, you little maggot, you better be start watching your back.
Objection!
Silence, McGilted. The court awaits the defense's clarification.
Get.
This trial keeps swinging one way and then the other. I have no idea what's truth and what's deception. What I am supposed to believe here. What am I supposed to believe here?
I shall have to ask you to elaborate, counsel. What exactly is this alleged mark that you claim appeared at some point during the trial?
I am so glad I look at shit way too many times.
Got it!
If we consider that the victim fell through the skylight onto the floor of the cabin, you would certainly expect to find signs of blood where he landed. But as far as I recall, This blood stain on the cabin floor was not there when the omnibus was first brought into the courtroom.
Good lord! Yes, I do believe you're correct, counsel.
Well said. Although as advocate for the defense, one might say that was a very careless slip of the tongue. I believe that blood stain on the floor is a decisive piece of evidence. But if the question is whether that evidence is genuine or whether it was unlawfully fabricated by someone, I feel compelled to admit that there's at least a possibility that the evidence is fake.
Ah! This trial is over.
Mr. McGilded?
I've done everything I possibly can to cooperate with the court, but 'tis all over now.
But you're the defendant.
'Tis over, I tell ye. Memory, recollection, what people think they say, so 'tis all a nonsense. Facts are what count. The fact is that bloodstain is there, now.
Well,
And over the course of this desperate trial, long and extremely drawn out as it has been, that good-for-nothing Reaper the Bailey has failed to present any decisive evidence at all. I am scandalized, so I am. I thought better of Lord Van Zykes. Well, my lord?
I must concur with the defendant. The unaffirmed recollections of an individual cannot stand as evidence. At this moment in time, the particular blood stain in question is very much in existence, and in absence of any credible method by which to prove its alleged previous non-existence, I regret to say that it would be improper for this trial to continue.
your lordship can't be serious.
Lord Van Zykes, what is your position?
The prosecution, my lord, has no further witnesses or evidence to present.
Very well. In that case, as I believe I have explored every possible avenue of this matter, I shall proceed to my adjudication. Sorry. As a formality, I'm of course obliged to confirm with the defense first.
What formality? As things stand at the moment, it would seem that Mr. McGilded would be found not guilty. Yes. Which would mean we've won. Is that really the right outcome here? Is it really alright for the trial to come to an end now, with all these unexplained inconsistencies?
Counsel for the defense, your closing statement, please.
Yes, my lord. The defense believes...
Oh.
Oh, buddy. Defendant is innocent. The defendant could be guilty. Oh. Oh. All right. I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Do you think he's innocent? Do you think could be guilty? I actually want opinions on this. Guilty. Guilty. Those all are options, yes. Guilty-ish. Okay. I am here in this courtroom today to advocate for the defense of my client, Mr. McGilded. However, at this moment in time, I cannot in good conscience attest fully to the defendant's innocence.
What are you saying, man?
Without any question, there's no conclusive evidence to prove the defendant is guilty. However, there's also no conclusive evidence to prove that he is innocent.
Good gracious me!
McGilded's getting all pissed off.
Order, order! This is unprecedented behavior, counsel. A defense lawyer calling the accused's innocence into question. Are you of sound mind?
Oh, 'twas a grand decision to appoint you as my lawyer, so it was a grand decision.
What?
I must say, I didn't quite expect an exciting spectacle at the end there. But still. Here, have this for your troubles. Ah. Your job here is done, fella, and some fine work you've done. So you have.
What do you mean?
'Tis just as the right honorable gentleman so succinctly put it before. The trial can't go on anymore. And your closing statement there was, how did he put it now? Not more than a formality. Wahahaha.
I really don't know what to make of all this. Was the evidence we've seen genuine, or was it fake?
His lordship would be fuming, and unsightly rubbish should be disposed of promptly, as I said.
The stinking rich are always guilty of something, you mark my words. I feel terribly ashamed that I ever doubted that lovely man who gave us the lovely park.
Now that proceedings have unfolded in this way, I am compelled to declare a premature end to this trial. Furthermore, the court must accept the defendant's plea.
I take you kindly, my lord.
I hereby pronounce the verdict of this court.
But we still haven't determined if the bloodstain in the omnibus is genuine or not. We don't know if these witnesses are telling the truth or a pack of lies. We have no idea about the truth.
Lord Van Sykes,
My lord?
the case made by the prosecution was flawed, plain and simple. If indeed the omnibus presented as evidence was tampered with, the prosecution is at fault for allowing such a disgraceful perversion of justice to take place.
My sincerest apologies, my lord. But wait. When we were evacuated from the courtroom, Lord Van Sykes ordered the evidence to be secured.
I'm afraid the prosecution cannot shun responsibility in this matter.
That's so unfair.
The culpability of the defendant has not, at the present time, been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to proffer judgment.
What?
What?
Well, Lord Van Sykes, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense.
Do you mean to tell me that this has been a grand waste of time?
'Tis the law of the land, my good man. If you'd like to pursue this matter further, you can always go ahead and try to change the law.
Magnus McGilded.
Good grief! You've more to say to me, have you?
Just one thing. A warning. This is far from over.
Well, something to be looking forward to then.
I hereby pronounce the defendant, Mr. Magnus McGilded.
Well, that doesn't feel good at all. Can't believe it. This is outrage. They should examine the evidence more. What are you talking about? The man's been cleared. He's innocent. With the courtroom pandemonium for the second time that day, the judge delivered his verdict. And my first trial in Great Britain came to an abrupt end, with the defendant being found not guilty, ostensibly a victory for us. That certainly was a long trial. Ah, yeah, it was. Your first ever trial on foreign soil, and your first victory. It was a wonderful performance. My heartfelt congratulations. And to you, Mr. Sato, thank you for your assistance. I suppose we should be happy? The trouble is, we're still completely in the dark about what actually happened. Well, we didn't have enough time. But isn't it wrong? I mean, who was actually responsible for Mr. Mason's death? We don't even know that. The sole aim of the defense is to obtain a verdict that exonerates the defendant. You carried out your duties to perfection.
Aye, that you did.
Let me guess. Yeah. Mr. McGilded. Ah, and that girl with him, too.
Well, it seems the stories are true.
Oh, what stories?
About the 6 enormous fireworks they do be lifting off if there's a verdict not guilty. I'm sure yous must have seen them now. Spectacular, wouldn't it say?
Yes, definitely.
I'd heard it was a sight to behold, to be sure it was. And I viewed the tank, I suppose, for having an opportunity to see it.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm not sure I really did anything.
What on earth you saying, fella? How did I walk out of there a free man then?
I don't think it was so much thanks to me as down to your planning.
You're a straight-talking fella, ain't ya? I must say, you had me astray in my head for once or twice. But you're young and headstrong. Ah, 'tis water under the bridge.
Congratulations, Mr. McGilded, on having your name cleared. But nothing's resolved.
There's only one thing that matters to me.
Oh?
Aye. They've all seen that I didn't do that odious and obstinate deed. 'Tis grand, is it not?
I suppose it is.
Now the fine fellas at Scotland Yard can take matters in hand and sort out any wee details. They'll see it for what it is. They'll get to the truth. I've absolute faith in them, so I have, after all. I do be providing a good number of their wages with all the taxes I pay.
It's not that funny.
So then, are we agreed aforehand? 1,000 Guinness for your troubles, fella.
Oh, no, I couldn't possibly accept that much.
Ah, be whist. You're humble people, are ya? You from the East? Well, if you insist. But have this, still and all, you deserve a reward.
Mr. Magnus McGilded. Everything is ready, sir. If you'd like to follow me into the courtroom.
Into the courtroom?
What's this, officer? 'Tis sooner than I was led to believe.
I hope it's not inconvenient, sir. There were some changes to the schedule.
Well, I must be making tracks now. 'Tis time for the inspection.
Sorry? What inspection?
They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked it if I could be present for it myself.
They're going to examine it again? Now?
Naturally, I'm under no obligation to take part in any more of this matter now. But as an upstander member of London society, I do be doing my best to help where I can. 'Tis a gentleman's duty, so it is. So then, fare thee well. 'Tis an absolute pleasure meeting yous. I hope you have a whale of a time while you're studying here in Great Britain.
And there he goes, a free man. Oh, I forgot she was here too.
Don't move.
Whereas I want to say get a move on, she really does take forever to load that thing. Miss Lestrade, would you mind putting that thing down?
You're a grown-up.
Sorry?
And I ate all grown-ups.
Ah, there you are. What the? Oh, that's Watson! What the fuck is the music for Watson? Also, filler voice for now for Watson.
Naughty, naughty, running off like that.
Is this some kind of picnic? Who's this little girl now?
And taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Ha! Oh, do you want to play? You won't beat me.
Excuse me, but who are you?
Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine.
The inventor?
Well, normal smoke grenades are so dull, don't you agree? White, white, and more white. If you have to be shrouded in smoke, it could at least be a pretty color, I thought to myself.
Do we have to be shrouded in smoke, though? At all?
I just took my eyes off it for a moment whilst I was changing into a different omnibus, and she pinched it. Luckily, I fitted it with a telegraphic beacon.
A what's it? What? I have no idea what this girl's talking about.
Anyway, you're coming with me now, back to my laboratory. What? What for? To apologize, of course, silly, to my technician. What? You mean, say sorry? You must say sorry when you've done something wrong. Surely an adult has told you that before. An adult? I don't listen to no adults. Come along then, follow me. I'm gonna blow your fucking head off. Fine, have it your way. Oh good. You see, I knew you'd want to do the right thing in the end.
I'm fairly sure that what she wants is not get shot by that massive gun.
We'll be leaving now then. Bye-bye. I'm so sorry for all the fuss.
She was a lively one.
Well, do you think perhaps we ought to be on our way now too?
Yes, you're right, but where to?
Oh!
We haven't had time to find a place to stay. No sooner had we arrived in London than we had to rush here. All our traveling cases are still with the bailiff.
I was originally planning to spend today in search of lodgings.
But at this late hour in the day, I'm afraid we may be out of luck.
Don't worry though, I have a plan. If the worst comes to worst, I've heard of a lovely park where we could spend the night.
Don't tell me you're not thinking of McGilded Park.
I know it may be a little chilly at this time of year, but our youthfulness will see us through.
I'm not so sure about that. I think a midwinter London night will freeze a young person solid just as easily as an elderly one.
Oh dear. That doesn't sound agreeable.
Now I'm starting to regret turning Mr. McGilded down. That 1,000 Guinness would have paid for a lovely warm room or mansion. And so, the trial to determine my worthiness for the study tour was over by the end of our first day in London. However, as we were soon to learn, there were more trying times ahead. Just as the Reaper of the Bailey had warned, the case was far from over. Oh.
What's going on? Get the fire brigade! Water! Bring water, quick! What the? How did this happen?
I don't know, sir. By the time I got here, it was already engulfed.
No one was supposed to be allowed in here before we started investigating. No. Oh, good God. There's someone in there.
This can't be.
Wait, so who the fuck's in there then? End. Okay, well, I have to find out next case.